So always within these 3 steps, we're going from showing up, which is like just being clear on where you're at. And as I mentioned in the last video, when you're starting by identifying your identity, it's like I'm on the pitch now. And then mastering your market is like really mastering the game. It's like, okay, now we're playing the game. You're engaging in this gear, which then will lead us to the 3rd step, which is monetize your moment. Mastering your market is one of those interesting things where for many of us, we think we know the market. But once we actually realize just how much, by looking not from where we are and where flow isn't occurring, if we haven't yet got to a point where we've mastered it, but looking at it from the point of view where the market is and how we connect with that, it can make all that difference. Now here are the 3 key things that you're going to see that all of the 10 steps within this assessment actually get linked to, and they're the 3 key things around the questions on the market. Number 1, how well do you know your market? Number 2, are you delivering the value they want? And number 3, are you effectively leveraging that value? We've talked a little bit about value and leverage and how they link, but understanding how your market gets segmented in this way is absolutely critical. I'll tell you a little story about an experience I had several years ago, and it was when I was out looking for a mentor. I had a chance to meet up with someone who has built $3 billion businesses in Europe, and his name is Mike Harris. And I got referred onto Mike, and I was in Bali at the time, Mike was in England, and we got onto a phone call because I was really looking for someone that could actually help me and could mentor me with my business. And when I was on the call with him, he was asking me questions about my business and how I was working and so on. And just keep in mind that this is someone, as I mentioned, who has had $3 billion businesses. There was one business he started up called First Direct, which became one of the leaders, in fact, one of the first companies to do telephone insurance. So this was going back several decades. He sold that business, and then he went on to a second business, which was called Mercury One-to-One, which became one of the first cell phone businesses, which also got sold in the UK. And then a third business called Egg, which was the first European online bank, which was back in the 1990s, which again became worth more than $1 billion and sold to one of the large banking groups in the UK. And so I was all excited having this conversation with him, and he was going to teach me all these different things. He asked me a series of questions about the business, and then at the end of it, he says, well, Roger, it looks like you're doing a pretty good job with your business, and the only thing I'd say is maybe just, segment your market a little bit more. And that was it. And I remember I was a bit underwhelmed by this. I was thinking, wow, I've only got like 10 more minutes of this phone call with Mike, and I'm really not sure if I really got value out of this call or not. And so there's parts in my mind, there's part of me thinking, well, maybe you can't help me. And then there's another part which was like, wait a minute, Roger, you're speaking to someone who has run $3 billion businesses. If you can't get value from this call, whose fault is that? Is that Mike's or is that yours? So I realized I clearly wasn't asking good enough questions. And so I said to him, okay, Mike, you mentioned about market segmentation. Can you share with me an example where you went and did that and that made a big difference in your business? And he says, oh, sure I can. When we started up Egg, we called it Egg because we thought that our market was those kind of like yuppies, the up and coming career-minded 20, 30-year-olds who actually wanted to have a bank where they didn't have to go into the high street branch. So that's why we called it Egg. We thought we'd make it something a bit different. However, as we started growing, we plateaued and we decided we needed to do something different. And always at that time in a business, I know it's time for us to really get focused at the market. So we brought up in a team who could then look at the market and come back and report on us. So they did, and they came back after doing this research in the market on banking, and they said, did you know that the entire banking sector has got 5 different segments within it? Currently, you are in one of 3 segments that you could dominate, and you're actually in the one which is the least profitable. And suddenly I was interested. I was like, well, what did they say? And they said, well, what they said was that the one you're focused at are the ones where, frankly, those people who are using it just for their own personal banking, they don't really have that much money. They're not that interested in the banking anyway. So there's a limited amount that you're going to be making from that group. There's 2 other groups you could get involved in. One group is basically those companies or company owners that are maybe more like in their 40s or 50s. They already run their own business. They might be traders, they might be professionals, where they want more from their bank than simply just having a retail bank. And if they had online tools, if they had ways to manage and track their own financing, they're much more likely to use your bank, but it means you need to provide them with different tools than you're providing for your first segment. I go, huh. And he says, and then there's a third segment, which is the most profitable of all. And the third segment are those super rich people that are so private about how they go about investing and how they go about transferring their money. They don't even want a private banker to be in there doing that for them. They'd rather have some access to online banking that allows them to do that themselves. But for that group, they're interested in a whole number of different things. They want more security. They want less tools, but ways that they can actually be more global in the way that they're doing their banking. And that's a far, far bigger market and a far, far bigger part of your business. He said as a result of that segmenting the market, when he went and then broke down into those three, and they actually set up teams in each of those three, that's what took that business from a $100 million business to a $1 billion business. It was that one thought of me coming off that call in the last 10 minutes, which was, I got to master my market. I have a clear identity. I'm now known within Asia as someone who is supporting entrepreneurs and educating entrepreneurs, but I really haven't segmented my market to the extent that I really understand who is it for that person who just wants to get some online information and would rather have it for free. In the same way I'm providing all of this for free just with the book, because I know that there are many, including perhaps yourself, that really don't want to spend a lot of money on education, but is willing to invest your time to be part of that. What about a different market? Those who are willing to actually come for events, who are willing to come and actually go through an experience. And what if we had a series of resorts around the world that can actually support and look after that group of people that are committed at a high level, willing to invest more of both time and money? Well, we'd need to have a whole different team that would look after that group. And what about those who are actually looking for personal mentoring? Those who already have successful businesses, who already see as a business expense ongoing learning? Well, of course, that would need also a very different group of tools and services that we'd be providing for that group as well. By understanding your market in this specific way, which is what this assessment allows you to do, it allows you to make that real connection between what you're passionate about and what you stand for, and a way that you really connect in with that market in such a way that you're speaking directly to them. You're going to find whether you're interested in an online business, whether you have a retail store, whether you have some kind of a professional company or a trading store or a creative organization, whatever it is, it's the same pattern and the same steps that get taken to get clear in your identity, and then to get clear on exactly how you connect with that market in a way that speaks to them. So that's exactly what this is all about. As you go through this, make sure that you're working through each of them on the assessment. Then after taking the assessment and seeing what your number is, and don't be surprised if it's a low number, go back and work on those through the playbook. By the time you're done, you're going to find that there are 3 very specific things you're going to be able to tick a big yes to on the pre-flight checklist. First one is, number 1, I have sized my market, I know my competitors, and what my unique market position and market share is and will be. Number 2, I have segmented my market and designed my time and business around the different needs of my customers. And number 3, I have systems and a rhythm that keeps me close to my customers, my competitors, and the market shapers. One thing I want to share here as well, which is really key, is I give a story within this chapter in the book around network marketing. And this is with Kevin and Tamsin, who run Network 21, one of the largest networking groups in Africa. And how when they were seeing themselves, having created this attraction for themselves within their team, they saw many people within their team that were out there chasing the business, like orange level. It's the same for agencies, real estate agents, insurance agents, self-employed. Too often, even in the business that we're in, we're out chasing the business like everybody else. And when they started learning about these different levels, and we put in place a program which allowed them to go to their entire network, and we call it network dynamics, and allows their entire network to, instead of go chasing the business, have it being attracted to them through their individual geniuses, and for each of them providing something unique. So the Dynamo geniuses had a group that were all doing creative things. The Blaze geniuses all showed up for great parties and events that they all wanted to be part of. Tempo geniuses were all about the proof and the referrals of what was really working. And the Steel geniuses were all about multiplying something very specific, just like Hattie did, which you could actually just follow that process and follow it through. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever industry, you're going to find that when you set a really clear identity, and then you set a clarity with the market where then you're speaking to them in a way that's unique to you, every single one of us can do that. We have huge opportunities all over the world to be able to carve our own niche. And today it's easier to have a global business than ever, where you can take that niche and grow it to build a tribe all over the world. So what does it feel like when this is working? What it feels like is you start getting to true attraction and you start controlling that flow. you can say, right, I'm now looking to make this extra money, and now your market's willing to respond to you. It's like having the South Pole and then the North Pole gets connected to it. But if you are not yet there, you're going to know it because you're still going to be chasing the business. You're going to still be waking up saying, I don't know how to make the $10,000. I don't know, what it is I need to do, which is going to improve the turning on the tap. So that's the difference between the two. Another way to think about this is think about the difference of a black and white TV that keeps on going off tune, or going to one of those hotels where like the plumbing's not working well and you go in the shower and it keeps on going hot and cold, where you have no control over flow, compared to being at a point where you can now fine tune that radio or that TV, where you can fine tune the plumbing so you get out exactly what it is that you want. It's that ability to be able to predict and fine tune to where you want it to get to, which allows you to get up at the zeros to the 10,000, 100,000 and $1 million mark, which is where we're now going to move to as we go up to the next level of yellow and into green.